And last night we were playing around. Cheyenne got this little plasma cutter over here. So we were messing around. We had a bunch of saw blades donated, so we decided to make make some throwing stars. And what I've got a whole stack of blanks that were cut out. Now, keep in mind that what we're doing here, this is for fun. We're not trying to make a quality blade by any means. And most of these are going to be 4-pointed. This one is a 3-point. And the cool thing about it is Cheyenne was like, hey, I've got one of the, I've got one of these saws that's just a little too small. I'm like, let me try something. All right, we're going to turn this around. Will it stick? This is a lot easier to do when I'm not holding the camera. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe to the channel and we'll do fun stuff. Okay, so the 3-point's not sticking as good as a 4. And I've just got a little bit of a tip ground onto these. Let me get a little further back. I feel like that one should have stuck. This is not fair. Oh, look, a 4-point. Well, hell, maybe I can actually show you guys what these are supposed to do. Oh, there we go. It just needed training. There you go. 2 bullseyes in a row right there. I want to show you guys the process we go through on making one of these without the plasma cutting portion of it. You can use a grinder. You can use an oxyacetylene torch. That's going to very much overheat it. And like I said, I'm not worried about heat treat on these particular builds because all I'm doing is making something fun for people to lose behind the wall here. So once more, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And let me show you what we got. So we have a rough cut star blank. You can actually see a couple saw teeth right here. Those are going to come off. And I'm just going to use a Warren 36 grit bit, 36 grit felt. And it cleans them up just like that. So if all else fails, I get to use up my my old belt. Dirt back. Well, hello. How's it going? I just take my burrs off. Then just put a couple little chisel bevels on these guys. Okay, now nothing special about this. It is a very rough cut throwing star. I do see I've got a little bit of little rough right there. Give me just a second. You don't want fun stuff like this to hurt you. You don't want it to hurt the user. So here we go. Will it stick? That is the question. Yes, it will. All right, so now we're going to do another one. The great thing about owning an axe throwing venue and a forge right next to each other is that while you're making tomahawks, you try them out. While you're making the throwing stars, you try them out. While you're making the throwing knives, you try them out. While you're making food in the back in between classes, you are usually pretty wore out and tired. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. We're going to go ahead and grind out another one of these. All right, there you go. We've got another fun, really kind of lopsided throwing star. You're Indian? Hey, that's cool. I'm from the U.S., Central Illinois. All right, guys. So once more, if you make it, you got to try it out, right? That's what I'm thinking. Take two. That does have a pretty good burr right there. All right, it works. Okay. So here at Axon, here at Axon Main Forge Memory, We do foraging experiences. We also have our axe throwing. And we do the axe throwing, we do knife throwing, and then we like to make some throwing stars. Now, Cheyenne had traced out some bigger stars for me. And we had three small saw blades, and she was like, hey, it's too big for this. So we're going to go ahead and grind these out and see if they work. These were just roughly drawn. They are not symmetric by any means. Point geometry. I'm going to be told, okay, shuriken zone. I'm going to go with an assumption that you probably are more into shuriken and some of the other throwing weapons than what I am. Most of mine comes from like Frontier, from Rendezvous, things like that. So point geometry is terrible on these. Now, there's a reason for that, okay? And right now, you're probably going, why wouldn't you do an asymmetric, and instead of that little only one-sided chisel grind, why not do a better grind? The reason being, we live in a wonderful state here called Illinois. Illinois is terrible. Everything is illegal. To carry this gun, to own this gun, to own the ammunition, even, I have to have a permit that's against my Second Amendment rights. It's to carry a knife, to carry a pocket knife. I have one somewhere. Here's one. A blade over 3 inches. You must have a FOID card, which is a firearm owner's identification, even though this is not a firearm. And according to Illinois, it is. Black powder weapons are considered firearms in this state. And there are many things that are considered illegal. In shuriken, these items more commonly known as throwing stars are illegal in this state. These are illegal. That shape of metal is illegal in Illinois. Okay? So what we do, we've got it indoors in a private venue. We make these. And I don't want to downgrade shuriken, because I've got friends who are into ninjutsu and are very much into shuriken. But I make very low-grade shuriken to do this. They are fun to play with in there. I do not have a developed edge on these. They are very rudimentary. Yeah, amen. I appreciate that. And shuriken zone. While we're on here having this conversation, just briefly, give us some pointers. Please do. Like I said, I'm making some very basic, very rudimentary shuriken here, if you can even consider them that. But I've got these throwing stars for indoor lanes, and give us some pointers. What would you recommend in a shuriken? How many points, distance? I've noticed there's a sweet spot. You're too close, your rotation's not high enough. There's a sweet zone, and then of course that rotation starts to drop along with the trajectory of the star. So if you could give us any advice on distance, what you would recommend, or technique, please do so. Okay, cool. So, please, Shuriken Zone, I do apologize for my poor terminology on things, but you're doing the shuriken that you're using are more of a like a no spin throw, single tip or double tip, perhaps. What distance do you throw from? Because I do some no spin. Majority of my throwing with knives and spikes and so forth, I generally do a spin, but occasionally I will do, a no spin. I've noticed that longer rod-like shuriken have a tendency to bounce more for myself, so I'm probably not doing it right. Very cool, very cool. I was a martial arts instructor years back. We didn't do a whole lot of throwing weapons. but I studied a lot of them at the time. Okay, there we go. Yeah, if they had a more acute point, they do stick better. We have tried some variations on the design, and just we do them very basic. In fact, this one's actually dished if you look at it. So I don't know if I can fix that with cold hammering or not. I seem to pretty much fix it. Yeah, a more acute point, it does work a lot better. What we're actually throwing into cottonwood here. Oh, more acute. So actually coming to a more knife-like tip. Yes. Now, there's a couple reasons we don't, and once more, if the great state of Illinois, were to have an issue with it, our Lord and Savior, J.B. Pritzker, the wonderful governor we have, if they're clearly not weapons, it's a little harder for them to maybe do something. Of course, they're going to have to get in here, which isn't too hard to do, but they would, I guess, would have to have a reason to come in. The other reason is for what minimal beveling we do on these, it's a little bit safer for people who are throwing for the first time. Okay, that little one actually did pretty good. The acute tip, one thing that we found, because we're not reheat treating these, is that too fine of a tip, it has a tendency to blunt or to, in some cases, break off. And that happens sometimes, especially when you're throwing things. So yes, a more acute tip, I believe that would have, that would definitely probably improve things quite a bit. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, this one actually has a little more, this has a little more of a tip on it. And now I'll let you know that the star shape is terrible. I mean, it's, I can't even say it's really star shaped. It has points from from a central basis, but let's see what happens here. Got another bullseye on that one. Okay, cool. So this is, it is working, and yes, those sharper tips definitely penetrate better. One issue we have with axe throwing lanes is people always want to throw more than one item at a time. And some people do, not everyone. So with the throwing stars, we end up getting these banged up pretty good in the process. Which happens, I expect that to a degree. You get the people who come in to practice for wattle, and even though these aren't wattle compliant, they're in the area and they want to practice, and they've got their pro axes. They are a little more, they're more mindful of that. They really are. Well, thank you, Shuriken Zone. So, okay. Yeah, absolutely. So going back on some of your comments, people do like to throw and stick. And one thing we do, we spray those targets down with water quite a bit. And that helps with, one, preserving the target, and also it kind of makes it spongy to where the tips stick a little better. So most of the time when we have somebody come in, we'll take what they're going to be throwing, we come over here and we touch all the edges up. The issue being that when you're throwing stars against stars, you're hitting, maybe it comes back, it hits a concrete, it hits a metal on the side. It really starts to deform those tips and what bevels we do put on them. So, yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. I got 4 or 5 more of these to do, I think. And I got to do a little more cleanup around the shop here. We've got a big day tomorrow. And hopefully a busy evening tonight as well. So you guys have a great one. We'll catch you in a few.